It tested my faith a lot because I didn't understand why I was going through this. And I know that over the years, I've had to deal with hypertension. I've also had to deal with weight gain, trying to lose the weight, trying different ways outside of surgery, but I still couldn't get it. I didn't understand why this was happening. Hey, beautiful people, welcome to my channel. I'm Josette, and some of you know me as Blossom. This video will start a series that's very close to my heart. Over the past year, I've been quietly walking through a health journey that changed my life, okay? This is the story of how I was diagnosed with IIH. For those of you who may not know, it's Idiopathic Intracranial Hypertension, and how God met me in the secret place I never expected to be. If you or someone you know is struggling with IIH, chronic illness, or in a season of unknowns, this is for you. All right, so basically, it started a while back ago, about 5 to 6 months ago. I was basically getting a lot of blurry vision, and I wasn't sure why that was. And I would just blink, and it would just be, after a few seconds, clear up a little bit, but it was still foggy. And I had series of episodes of vertigo. I was fatigued. I was really just unsure what was happening. I thought I needed a new pair of glasses, so I scheduled an appointment to go see my ophthalmologist. And when I went to go see the ophthalmologist, and I thought that I was just going to basically get a prescription and receive new pair of glasses shortly after. After a series of tests, that was when the ophthalmologist realized, wait a minute, you have swollen optic nerves. I was like, swollen optic nerves? What is that? Why is that? What's going on? And she then diagnosed me with IIH, and she started to tell me, not to stress, but I was stressed because I thought I was coming in for classes. And meanwhile, it was more than that. Okay. And I basically was prescribed to go see other specialists. I had to also go and get MRIs and MRVs. Totally just changed the whole life going into the new year, because this was in December of 2024. And I just kept thinking, what is going on? Am I going to go blind? What's happening? And that was when I first started to, get involved into doing the MRIs and MRVs. And I really still didn't know what was happening. I was like, can you please explain more of what's going on? Am I going to see something happen within the matter of months, or is this something that's like life-threatening? This is all that I really wanted to know. And so when the ophthalmologist noticed that my optic nerve was swollen, as I mentioned earlier, she then told me that I needed to go and see a neuro-ophthalmologist, which I never knew there was any such. And then I also had to go and come back for eye dilation, optic dilation. So that was, a place, well, not so much a place, but an actual procedure where the doctor could be able to see, how swollen the optic nerve is, and if it's really in a safe space, or safe zone rather, or if it's like way past that zone or below the zone, etc. So I just basically started to get really concerned. I was just really nervous. It tested my faith a lot because I didn't understand why I was going through this. And I know that over the years, I've had to deal with hypertension. I've also had to deal with weight gain, trying to lose the weight, trying different ways outside of surgery, but I still couldn't get it. I didn't understand why this was happening. So I started to do more research. I did find some YouTubers and some TikTokers who actually spoke on the IIH and who are on their own IIH journey. However, I just still couldn't get all my answers. All the questions I had, I couldn't get all the answers, obviously, on social media. And what I did was I did a combination of social media as well as asking my doctors questions. I went to go see several of them. And so from December to January, I did attempt to do the MRI. That was because at that time I was, pretty much feeling claustrophobic. I was feeling anxiety, fear, and I just didn't know what to do. And so I did make an attempt to go to the MRI, and I had to walk away because I just could not go into the actual MRI machine, which is where I ended up going, but I'll tell you more about that later. And then I rescheduled and found other places that are like more of a stand-up MRI. So you're not actually standing, you're sitting upright like I'm doing now, but the machine is pretty much standing and surrounds you. And you're able to look at TV, you're able to look at your shows while it's taking images of the area that the doctor prescribed. In my case, it was the brain. And so I did the MRI of the brain, it came back normal. I did the MRI of even the spine, came back normal. So I thought, oh, I was in the safe zone, but I wasn't. And although I did start medication shortly after for this condition, it still wasn't enough. And it was just really mind-boggling, and it started to make me feel even more nervous. So I didn't get blurry visions as I had back in December and prior to that, but I did get a lot of whistling sounds in my ears, and I just thought it was something that was just happening and it would go away, but it was actually due to the condition that I had. And so when I finally moved on from the stand-up MRI in the month of February as well as March, I went ahead and went to go see the neuro-ophthalmologist. It took so long to go see the neuro-ophthalmologist, let me just say. But I went to go see the neuro-ophthalmologist, and I was glad that I did, because that was when they realized how severe my optic nerve swelling, the swelling of my optic nerve, how severe it was. And I said, wow. And she, the physician showed me, all the images. I was able to see exactly what they were seeing, and she explained it, and which I appreciate, because, I'm not in the medical field, so how would I know exactly what they're talking about? And usually what they refer to as the optic nerve swelling or swollen optic nerve is papillary edema. And so the papillary edema is what I had. And when I went, she was very straightforward with me, very bold. She said, I need you to get an MRV, because now your MRIs are normal, but we need an MRV so we can see what's going on with the venous, sinus that you have near your brain. And I said, wow, I'm really nervous about doing this. I had a hard time. And she specifically stated that she needed high resolution images that stand-up MRI does not provide. So therefore, I needed to go into the actual machine that I was trying to avoid to begin with. So now, once again, my faith is being tested and challenged even more. And so I said, okay, I'm going to have to, cope with this somehow, some way, because she told me if I do the stand-up MRI and the images don't produce what she needs, she's going to have me redo the MRV. So I certainly did not want that experience where I would have to, go back and forth, especially with the physician, because she told me she's glad. She was the second one to say she's glad that I came in at the time I did, because if I did not, or if I had not, it would have impacted my eyesight, which she was trying not to scare me, which I had remained my composure, but it was scary nonetheless to hear someone say, you may actually go blind. And so praise be to God, that was not the case. So after the MRI and MRVs, it definitely confirmed that I had a lot of pressure in my intracranial, and definitely confirmed that I have some level of IIH. And so with that said, that was where I was referred now to go see the neurosurgeon, which is also, he's considered a neuroradiologist. And that's someone who basically a specialist was able to further diagnose me with this IIH and give me some prognosis in terms of how we can be able to get to recovery, or to be able to get this under control. And so when I walked out of that office at that time, which now is in April, by the way, I was told I needed to do this within a week. Well, I needed more than a week. I needed more than a week, because I needed to process what was going on, and I needed to make the appointments, and I needed to get my spiritual and physical mind, like my mindset, together, and my spiritual mindset, I want to call it, together as well, because I just felt overwhelmed. I felt drained. I felt I didn't know what to do and where to turn. But I did know that I could turn into prayer, and I did know that I had people praying for me and rooting for me. And, as much as I was unsure and didn't understand it, they also were, unsure and didn't understand it, but they were still encouraging me along the way. So by the end of the month of April, which was after my spring break, because some of you may know I'm an educator by day, I was able to go ahead and find a way to be able to get this going. So when I did that, I was like, okay, now that I'm in the MRV, I was like, now I need to actually, now that I have a schedule, I need to go ahead and go forward with it, in which I did. I went forward with it. I was able to get all the support that I needed at the Lenox Hill Radiology office. And they were very, very kind. And so I was able to see the machine. I was able to speak to the tech. And they told me it's only 20 minutes. You know, we could give you a little blindfold to put over your eyes. And I went there with my daughter who was in the room supporting me. And I was just so happy. But I was still tearful. I had some tears. And then I also, my PCP, my primary care physician, had at that time prescribed something. I forget the name at the moment, but there was something where I could be able to remain calm while I go in. And that was very helpful as well. But of course, above all, it was the prayers, it was the support of those who were there, as well as my daughter. And I managed to get through that MRV within that 20 minutes. And when they were pulling me out, wheeling me out, I said, that's it? It's over? They was like, yes. So I was really relieved. I was really happy. So after that, I basically went ahead and scheduled an appointment, follow-up appointment for the month of May. So now we're in the month of May. And I finally went to go see the physician that they wanted me to go see, which was the neurosurgeon. And so I went to go see him. He was fantastic. He was awesome, very good bedside manners. And he saw the MRV results and he explained to me that based on those MRV results, it confirmed that I have narrowing. It confirmed that I have, some other concerns that would need to be further diagnosed and further looked upon through what is called a venogram. So once I had the venogram, that was when he was able, and I was awake during that time. Yes, I was given, I think, local anesthetic, but it wasn't really anything, crazy. I was able to remain calm, and I was in the OR. It was a same day procedure, and I was able to get through that. And that's when he showed me the images of the narrowing of the venous sinus. And so at that time was when he went ahead and told me that I would need to return, and they would call me, his office would, so I can schedule a venous sinus stenting. And so that is not surgery, but it's a minimally invasive procedure, which does require general anesthesia. And so that was basically in the month of June when I did the venogram. And then now we're here in the month of July, where I had 1 week ago completed the venous sinus stenting. And I have to say, 1 week later, although I'm on my recovery period, I'm going to be off from work for about a few weeks, about 3 weeks. I have to say 1 week later, I feel a lot better than I did a week ago, but I'm still not lifting anything heavy. I'm still taking it easy. I'm not laying in bed all day, but I do get up, I walk around, I go out for vitamin D. I make sure that I'm in good high spirits. I also, I'm doing this. I'm actually recording my life story to share with those who are out there going through this, so that they could know as well that you too can be able to get past certain stages that you're unsure of and things that you don't know. Because again, when you're facing something that is like neurological, it can be scary. When you're learning that you have to do something that's like dealing with your brain, it can be scary. But just know that there's hope and there's faith, and knowing that you have hope and faith and trust in God, and knowing that He's going to get you through each stage of this process, of this journey, is very comforting. And so I'm grateful for the prayer warriors out there who went into their secret place, who were able to, keep me uplifted in prayer. And there were some scriptures that I really, kept me going, and I specifically want to share Psalm 121 with you, where it says for verses 1-2, I will lift up my eyes to the hills, from whence comes my help. My help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth. He will not allow your foot to be moved. He who keeps you will not slumber. Behold, he who keeps Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. Okay. And so when I think about those verses, and when I think about, so many other verses that kept me going and from the Word of God, it just continued to, let me know that God is in control and He has the final say. Because after all, He is my healer. He is my Jehovah Rapha. He is also my provider, my Jehovah Jireh, and He's your healer and He's your provider. And so I say to you right now that if you are going through a chronic illness, or if you are experiencing something that causes you to feel distressed or feel like you're despaired, like you're losing hope, just trust God, because He will see you through it. And just don't isolate yourself. Just allow Him to be able to speak to you through your prayers, through your worship, through other people who are counting on you and rooting for you. And so I just really want to let you know that no matter what, no matter how glim it may seem, no matter how, sad it may be, do not ignore what it is that's happening in your bodies. And that is why I was able to get diagnosed with this and be able to get to this point where I am now with living with a venous sinus stenting on both sides, left and right. Because if I had ignored the blurry vision and the vertigo signs, I would have never been diagnosed with it right now, probably. And it would have impacted my eyesight. So I'm very grateful that that did not take place. And so I'm asking you today, if you know that there is something, happening that you're unsure of, don't just brush it under the rug, but seek to find help and see that you can be able to understand what it is, and find a community like I did when I went on YouTube or went on TikTok. And this is my story, but I definitely invite you to drop those hearts in the chat if you are going through a chronic illness, a blue heart or a green heart, whichever one, and let me know if you are going through this and what it is that you're doing to keep your spirits high. If you know that you want to connect with me, or if you have a question, just drop it in the chat, and I will also in the comments, and I will also reach out to you as well. Thank you so much for listening, and I appreciate you taking the time to hear my story. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. If this blessed you, be sure to like, subscribe, and share with someone who needs a little hope and healing. Remember, you're not alone in the journey. Whether it's faith, health, or purpose, God is walking with you every step of the way. Until next time, stay prayerful, powerful, and positioned.